some questions over here.
My question is about absorptive capacity in various developing countries, because I know particularly in the case of HIV/AIDS, the GFATM fund will give countries such as Uganda a lot of money, and then the problem that they're running into is they have millions upon millions of dollars, but they have trouble actually implementing and using the money. So my question is, what is the World Bank doing to improve absorptive capacity, and what do you think it should be doing?
Right. Well, I want to make a special plea before I answer this one, which is that when Jeff Sachs comes to talk to you, that you should ask him this question, because he is the one who advocates, says the only problem is a lack of will and money, and if we have, gazillions of dollars, then all problems will fade away. But you're right, they won't fade away, and because there are genuine absorptive capacity problems, and they come in sort of, I think, broadly two baskets, right? The first is that, you can have a bunch of money because you want to go out and deliver antiretroviral medicines, for example, to people in rural Uganda, right? But to deliver them, you don't just need the money, you need the people to go and deliver the medicines, right? You need actually sort of nurses or at least paramedics or somebody who can go and do this stuff. And these people may not exist. I mean, there may be nobody with medical training or even with the rudiments of medical training to go and do this for you. So you need to address this problem as you suggest. You need to address. You can't just sort of sit back and say, "Oh, there's absorptive capacity problems, therefore I'm out of here. I give up." You've got to go and start training these people, but the training will take time. And if you try and do it massively quickly, and you just say, "Okay, we'll just train them for 2 weeks each," you may wind up having people who are badly trained, therefore who go out and give the medicines the wrong way, so people don't adhere to the treatment program properly. This means that they're going to that you'll build up drug resistance faster in those areas where people aren't taking the medicines properly, and this will mean that you could potentially get, in some cases, more in malaria, I think, than HIV. But in some cases, this could lead to actually being worse than if you hadn't done the project, because you have mutations in the disease, and therefore drug resistance and so forth. So, I think you have to. That's the first basket. There's a lack of trained, competent people to carry out on the ground the projects that foreigners want to finance with their dollars, and you have to work on that and just and not be so impatient that you have a boomerang. But the other kind of absorptive capacity problem is sort of the currency effect. If you pile a large amount of foreign aid money into a small economy, all this money going in is going to push up the value of the currency. It's sort of like, if you have an oil exporting country in the Middle East, which exports loads of oil, so all these dollars come flooding in because it's made all these oil sales, it gets Dutch disease, which means that essentially it has lots of revenues but no industry. No industry, why? Because the exchange rate has been forced up so much that you couldn't possibly make anything in Saudi Arabia, pretty much, and export it because, the currency, the exchange rate barrier means that you're not competitive, because your currency is so valuable. And equally, if you're a consumer in a country with an overvalued currency, why would you buy anything locally which has been produced expensively? You could just buy cheap imports, which are incredibly cheap to you because your currency is worth so much. So when foreign aid comes in, it pushes up the value of the currency, and other things being equal will make it harder to develop an export industry or any industry in your own economy. So you have to think about that effect. And again, the answer is not to just give up, but you have to be so smart about how you use the aid. Now, if you use it, for example, on something which is imported, there's no currency effect because the money goes right back out of the country. If you give Uganda a large amount of dollars and it buys a large amount of antiretroviral medicines made outside Uganda, the money will go out to buy the ARVs. The ARVs will come in, but that doesn't cause inflation. And so to the extent that you're providing commodities through the aid, there's no inflation problem. So you have to just be smart about, you obviously need to spend something on the personnel, the training, the people who are going to carry out the aid project. But you shouldn't do it all that way. You should be thinking about these currency effects. And in fact, there was a big argument in Uganda between the central bank, which was starting to see at one point these appreciation effects on its currency, the way that this was causing it difficulty in stimulating actual jobs and real growth. And they were saying at one point, look, let's be a bit careful about how much aid we take in. So I think it's a genuine issue.